Welcome everyone to the EOS Fireside Chat for Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. We got a great show for you today. We're talking EOS EVM Testnet going live. The next growth milestone for the EOS network is here. We're talking blockchain events recap, sharing the EOS story and EOS opportunities to the wider crypto space. There's an Upland Hackathon going on. We're exploring this innovative metaverse that's built on EOS. We're talking the Multichain Partnership and which strengthens the EOS ecosystem. Pomelo wrapped up last week. We're taking a look back at the successful season 5. We've got Defibox, Pomelo NFT mining going on. There's a promotion. We're merging DeFi and NFTs on EOS. SNTNL AI audits are here, ensuring smart contract security and transparency. Eden elections are coming up. Join us for this governance experiment on EOS. Alcor has deployed inter-blockchain communication, bridging the EOS with other blockchain networks. Wax upgrades to the Antelope protocol, getting one step closer to IBC with EOS. And of course, we're going to wrap it up with our community questions, open mic section, and off-topic banter. In case you didn't know, EOS is a layer 1 smart contract platform that is governed by its community and the only crypto network that had its foundation emerge organically from within the community years after the launch of the network. Ever since the EOS network took its fate into its own hands by freezing the vesting tokens originally allocated for Block 1 and establishing the EOS Network Foundation, the network has seen a profusion of initiatives being researched and deployed in the last 18 months. We're talking EOS Network Foundation launch, Pomelo crowdfunding platform launch, Yield Plus launch, Recover Plus launch, Grant Framework, Antelope rebrand, Antelope Coalition, EOS Independence Day, EOS Roadshow 2022, still ongoing now in 2023. We had the inter-blockchain launch just recently. There's an upcoming EOS EVM launch. Of course, we're talking about that. There's the upcoming EOS Network Ventures launch, as well as on top of a bunch of EOS partnerships with Binance, Msig, Busan, and others. And by the way, there's lots of EOS funding opportunities available today. Whether you're new to our community or you've been us with years, we encourage crypto builders of all kind, from content creators to developers, to take a look at the new EOS and find out how they can get funded while adding value to our EOS ecosystem. In case it wasn't yet crystal clear, EOS is in the midst of an epic narrative reversal, and the new EOS has the potential to become one of the most legendary crypto redemption arc stories of our time. My name is Stephane. I'm one of the co-founders of EOS Nation. We're currently a top-ranked block producer on EOS and other Antelope chains, and I'm happy and honored to be your host today. All right. We got some people here joining the show a bit early. Gonna send a little server mute out there. So thank you everyone for joining us live on Discord. We encourage you to join our EOS community Discord server. Join us on the Fireside Chat. Join me on stage, share your comments, questions, thoughts live with everyone here. A lot of EOS influencers, community leaders, crypto builders join us every week on the Fireside, and they're here and ready to answer your questions. Big shout out, of course, to everyone watching the replay, watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you are. Thank you for being part of the community, and thank you for joining the EOS Fireside Chat every week. If you're with us here on Discord, please share your memes in the chat. Spam those emoji reactions in the chat as well. Let's help Dave make this show as visually appealing for people as possible. All right, a couple of housekeeping items to get through before we start the show today. The Pop Bot chat is open. Go claim your Pop token if you're with us here on Discord, and then go blend your monthly raffle ticket. You'll have a chance to win 50 EOS first prize and other prizes of 10 EOS here, 10 EOS there, NFTs here, NFTs there. So that's all good and fun, and I'll be sharing the link for those raffle tickets in just a bit. Road past 10K promotions still going on. How many people are we now in the server? We're at 12,666 members in the EOS community service. That's great. Every 2 months, we'll be sending out prizes to people who use their private invite link to invite people to join our server. So the people who've been doing that last couple of months, you'll be getting prizes at the end of this month in a couple of days, and then again in 2 months. All right. Look at that. Even Elon in the car. Got Andreas sharing some memes in the chat. Well done, sir. EOS EVM Testnet is now live. This is the latest version of the EOS EVM, the one that's going to be going live on the main net in just a couple weeks. Now it's on the testnet and it's ready to be test driven, I guess. Let's see here. Who do we have in the chat? It's my trusty, knowledgeable partner, Zack, all about the EOS EVM here. I think he is. I can go over a bit of news, and then Zack, you can jump in there at any time if you think I'm missing something. So first up, we've got a tweet from the EOS Network Foundation from 2 days ago. Let me share that in the chat. The final EOS EVM testnet before mainnet launch is officially live. With the security audit underway, the EVM is nearly ready for mainnet. Read the latest blog post for more info and answers to EOS EVM frequently asked questions. Why? Let's do that right now. So if we go to the eosnetwork.com blog, we can find the latest post here about the EOS EVM. EOS EVM testnet is live. What does this article cover? Some things that I'm sure many of us already know, and some things that maybe you weren't too familiar with. What is the EOS EVM? Obviously, it's the emulation of the Ethereum virtual machine housed within an EOS contract run fully on the EOS chain. It's talking about finding support as support grows for EOS EVM projects. Of course, the $20 million investment announcement last week that will be going into EOS EVM projects, and more specifically, GameFi themed EOS EVM projects. So that was a very exciting announcement last week. A lot of the ENF leaders and community members were out at a variety of events last week. They weren't here on the Fireside. We've got some of them with us today. We'll be hearing about those events and to see if people are hyped for this 20 million in funds available for projects who deploy on the upcoming EOS EVM. The article also covers initial partnerships with EOS EVM. For example, the Multichain Partnership that was announced last week, which I would love to hear more about from Zack in just a bit here after we conclude this quick review of the article. There's also this article shares information about how to getting up and running quickly on the EOS EVM. So we've got critical information that I'll share in the chat here. EOS EVM contract account, Ethereum compatible RPC endpoints, EOS EVM block explorer, the token bridge, and last but not least, the EOS Learn portal has information, and the EOS Docs also has information about the EVM, which if Nathan is around, we'll talk about that in just a bit. All right, other frequently asked questions about the EOS EVM. What's an EVM? What does it do? I think we can skip that one. How does this EOS EVM differ from other EVMs? Of course, it's very extremely performant. We'll see exactly just how performant it is when it deploys, but it is expected to be the fastest EVM on the market. And so we're very excited about that. What's the difference between EOS native and the EOS EVM? Well, the EOS native is the base network of the EOS network utilizing the Antelope architecture, while the EOS EVM lives within this Antelope architecture, within a smart contract, and allows, of course, Solidity Ethereum projects to deploy on EOS very easily. What programming languages can be used to write smart contracts for the EOS EVM? Of course, Solidity is the most popular one that everyone knows, but there's also other languages such as Viper, Yule, and Yield Plus that are also compatible. What's the gas fee? How does it work in EOS EVM? Gas fee uses EOS token for gas. Gonna give that a round of applause. Love to hear that. And finally, Are there any functionality limitations that can be achieved on Ethereum but not on the EOS EVM? No, there are no limitations. Any function that can be executed on the Ethereum network can also be executed on the EOS EVM. So that kind of gives a nice quick overview of what you can find in that recent blog post about the EOS EVM testnet going live. Oh, and as James correcting me saying the Learn portal doesn't have EVM stuff yet. So yeah, I guess Zack didn't jump in here at any time, so I didn't mess anything up too badly. Nathan, did you want to jump in and maybe share a bit about the developer docs that are now available for the EOS EVM?
Sure. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
All right. So for the EVM, we have a new section in the EOS Network documentation. We're currently working on making them easier to use, as well as adding a few missing guides, such as hard hat integration, though we do already have truffle integration, and there's a nice remix tutorial in there. And this is all in preparation for the EVM mainnet launch. So the docs right now are also testnet docs. We have a webinar coming out soon after the mainnet launch with a date that is to be announced, but it will also include how to get started developing apps on the EOS EVM, possibly some, actually I don't want to give too much information about that because it's still up in the air. We're not quite sure what's going to go in there yet. We'll put out an announcement about it as soon as possible. You might also notice that we released 4 new guides for EOS Native, which are also in this new update for the docs. There's a Dune guide, an accounts guide, resource guide, and a new smart contracts basics guide, which digs into everything developers need to know to get started developing on EOS. And each one of those guides will also be available as video courses on the Learn portal coming soon.
One thing to add to that is the beautiful thing about the EOS EVM is that it's fully compatible with Ethereum. There is a giant knowledge base of materials for developers and tooling and open source code, and it all just works. So that's the biggest benefit for the EOS ecosystem with the incorporation of the EOS EVM is we just kind of inherit all of that. Similar to how other like Antelope chains can inherit the Antelope protocol that we kind of develop, we get the benefits now of the entire Ethereum ecosystem. So that way, like resources internally from Nathan's team can focus a lot on EOS native, while developers like Ethereum developers they won't be lacking materials because like they already exist. That's the biggest thing. Steph, you did a good job of covering everything that's been published. There's still one more deep dive to come. We broke up the deep dives just because they're pretty heavy. We'll have another one that covers the architecture of the trustless bridge and the token economy. So the token burn mechanism that we've discussed before. So really diving into that and explaining it because it's been very high level. Like everyone kind of knows that the operator contract collects a fee on top of the cost of resources, but the mechanisms haven't really been detailed. So that's the final deep dive that'll come out. You have a question? Okay. So that's what's coming out. You also brought up the multi-chain bridge. I think that's important because that will allow liquidity to flow into the EOS EVM very close to launch. I wouldn't even make an assumption that it'll be deployed at the day of launch. There's going to be a lag time because people need to get their stuff deployed, and the mainnet launches on a Friday. So
I've got some questions about that multi-chain partnership.
Sure.
It says there's 2,900 bridges currently deployed. How does that? What does this number mean? My brain can't make sense of it.
They're pretty much deployed to every EVM and a lot of non-EVMs too.
And they're all connected to all the other EVMs and non-EVMs deployed, and together generates 2,900 connections.
I'm not sure what that means.
Seems crazy.
They're both a bridge and a cross-chain swap. So what that means is, like, because everything's kind of interconnected, if you have Ethereum, like, yeah, you could bridge your Ethereum to EOS EVM, but you could also say, I'd rather have EOS on the EOS EVM. So you send your Ethereum and then you get EOS on the other side. So it's like a cross-chain swap. But I don't understand what that number, what are they calling it? Connections?
They said, Multichain boasts a constantly growing family of EVM and non-EVM chains, currently 66, and deployed bridges, currently 2,900.
Oh, each token, they might be considering each token a bridge. So if you bridge Ethereum, it's one bridge. If you bridge USDC, that's another bridge.
Okay, there we go.
But it also is, I think, that each chain can connect to every other chain. So you're just counting the possible connections that can occur.
Right. If you go
66
so if
it'd be
times
66 to, well, the 66 to the power of X, which then gives the 2,900, give or take.
Well, yes, 66 times 66 is like 4,300. Maybe they're not all of them collected to everyone, but yeah. Tokens makes sense as well.
On their website, it says 3,514 projects. That means tokens and 88 chains.
On the topic of
between...
multi-chain, do you think it would include EOS to EOS EVM, or would say P network need to do that?
Maybe. So that conversation hasn't been had, but they are. So that's a bigger lift, though. So it's just like EVM to EVM is easy, and not easy for me, but easy in the sense that your keys are all mapped because you have the same keys on both chains, and it's just a standard. It's very easy. But for a different type of chain, so like Solana, Polkadot, EOS, like any chain that's a little bit different than EVM standard, it would require a lot of custom development to make that connection. Multichain doesn't have that technology built. We have not really had any kind of conversations around that. We're focused on the EVM as far as multichain. So technically it could at some point, but that's not really what this is about. This is strictly EVM to EVM, or not EVM, multi-chain to the EOS EVM, not to EOS native, because they don't have, it's not a simple integration with native EOS. It would be a custom lift, which, as you mentioned, P Network has that tech. So they could deploy it, most likely, but this doesn't include that. But like the discussion we had a couple weeks ago, whenever I brought up that there is not at launch an EOS altcoin to EOS EVM like trustless bridge. This is something important because there's tokens on EOS, there's several dozen, but as far as like prominent ones, there's only a handful, less than that. Whereas in like the wider Web3 ecosystem, there's dozens and dozens of very highly liquid tokens that will have access to the EOS EVM, and there's also a lot of I'm saying gaming because that's what the majority of them will be initially. But there's a lot of projects that are already deployed on other chains with different levels of success. And when you're an EVM-based project, it's really easy to deploy to other EVM chains with little effort. You just deploy the same contract to the new chain, but a lot of those contracts require their native token. So like if you're Zack swap and you're on Binance and you want to deploy to EOS, you could deploy Zack swap to EOS EVM, but if you want the Zack token, which is native on Binance chain, you need a way to get that native token onto EOS EVM so your application works. So that's one of the biggest gaps that the multi-chain router will fill. is it will allow projects very close to launch to be able to deploy across multiple chains, with EOS EVM being their newest chain that they're expanding to, and also be able to bring their token with them. And like I said on the last call also, if you do have a native EOS project and you have a native EOS token, there are ways to bridge the token yourself. That's actually something some projects actually even prefer, because if you rely on a third-party bridge, you lose all of the customizable functionality of your token, because it's just a wrapped version that a third party owns the contract to. Whereas if you use your own bridge, I guess it depends on how decentralized your project is or should be, or attains to be. But you could actually deploy your own bridge and just have the same permission set as your smart contract on native EOS, for example. So if you have 7 multi-sig parties on the EOS side, you could just kind of mimic that on an EVM side, or on any other EVM, not even just EOS EVM, and kind of own the contract. It could even have different permissions, but you own the token contract on the destination chain, and then you could have custom properties on there for your tokens that you might not be able to have if it's just a wrapped token, like a vanilla wrap token. But at the same time, a vanilla wrap token works for most projects. But if you have like unique functionality, like every time your token's transferred, like a little bit of it's like burned, like functionality like that, then you need to build your own, you need to deploy your own token contracts anyway.
All right. Thanks for your answer, Zach. Just one more question. So I talked with the P Network representative, and he said they're all very interested in building out that EOS to EOS EVM bridge. So, but they asked me like, who's the best ENF person to contact about that?
His name's Joshua. I can. Who might hold on? I don't even know who I'm talking to. I don't have the Discord
Oh, it's
screen up.
TJ Strikanova. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have your handle. I'll message you the screen name of who they should be in touch with.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. There was also another article in CoinDesk yesterday talking about the EOS EVM. Always good to see that. And there's also been some on-chain activity regarding the EOS EVM. Yves, do you want to maybe speak a bit to this new Msig that was proposed?
Sure. This is really kind of more of a formality or anything, preparing for the mainnet launch. And so there's an Msig that was proposed yesterday, I believe, basically to create the accounts needed for the launch of the EVM. So we did this on Jungle a while back. We're now just preparing for the mainnet launch that's coming in 2 weeks for the EVM. And that requires the block producers to reach consensus on creating of accounts. And the reason for that, because obviously anybody can create the accounts, is because then it's EOSIO that creates the accounts. So EOSIO prods coming to consensus to create accounts, so they're official accounts, and that really is where the EVM contracts will be deployed, and it really gives that, I guess, official status to those contracts that will be deployed, because ultimately that account was created by the network itself reaching consensus. And so you can follow through, I believe, I'm guessing you just posted the Msig and follow through with that. It's really nothing special. And so it's not contentious. It's literally just creating an account. But that's where the contracts will be deployed. And I saw that Denis as well just created the permission structure set that will be there. It's quite complex, but it's that's what's going to be there at launch for those contracts to ensure that development can still continue happening while still having accountability in there. So you can look at that graphic. It's really well laid out. Thank you for sharing that.
Denis, do you want to talk a bit about these permission structures? I know you love fancy account permission structures. Maybe you want to share a
Yeah,
bit?
maybe just before Denis hops on, I just want to give a big shout out to Denis because Denis has been helping out with the EVM a lot and smart contracts, etc. I mean, Denis is one of the experts on the EOS on this, so big shout out to Denis for his help on this.
Thanks, Yves. You can hear me, right?
Yes, Denis, we can hear you.
All right, cool.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, the diagram is a little bit intense, but that's only because it dives into also the ENF permission. So there's kind of two parts. There's the EOSIO EVM, which has the owner as EOSIO. So the BPs, 15 out of 21, they do own the owner permission. And then the active permission has a lower weight, and this is just for the initial period where there's a lot of active development. Instead of trying to ask for a 15 out of 21 BP approval, it's a lower weight, but still pretty high. So it does require, so here there's 5 block producers that are going to be added as a weight of 1, and ENF is a weight of 3, and you need a weight of a threshold of 6, which means you need 3 BPs and ENF. And then within the ENF structure, there's also an Msig within ENF. So it's kind of a double Msig to approve the active. And this is just so that the ENF can rapidly deploy the EVM and not be delayed by, let's say, a week or so to kind of gather the 15 out of 21. If down the road, EVM is extremely stable, we haven't updated anything, then that permission can then fall back to EOSIO. But that would be down the road if it's extremely stable. Yeah, that's about it. It's pretty straightforward, but yeah, there's a lot of lines. So if people want to go look at the graphic, it kind of describes which account and which permissions, which weights, which thresholds. But once you look at the Msig, it's really not too intense.
Listening to Denis explaining it much better than looking at lines for me personally. So thanks Denis there for jumping on.
No worries.
All right, what else do we have on the EOS EVM front? I think that covers it. Anyone from the crowd have any questions? Feel free to jump on at any time, of course.
This is Drew Block. I have a quick question about the EVM.
Yes, sir. What's up?
I'm just curious if presumably ENF has been testing the EVM to see like speed and those sorts of things. When I was looking at the block explorer, it looked pretty like a bunch of people testing stuff. But I'm just curious if ENF has done those benchmarks yet.
We have not done updated benchmarks since the last benchmarks we did when block times were at 5 seconds.
Okay, interesting.
So that data that you see is actually much slower data than what it currently is. Caveat though, that for those who don't understand how benchmarking works, they're done in a controlled environment. In our controlled environment for those benchmarks, we used, and I'm going very deep, but we used OC mode on EOS, and EOS doesn't run on OC mode normally. BPs could if they wanted to, but that's not as stable. And so those numbers are theoretical, but that's typically how you benchmark, and that's how you compare apples to apples. When people benchmark, they typically showcase in a controlled environment what they could do, not necessarily in production, because everybody's production will be different, obviously. So what you do is you try to showcase what you're capable of doing in a real life scenario, but under a controlled environment. And when everybody does that, that's the closest you get to apples comparison. So in terms of swaps per second, I believe what we had showcased with the 5-second block times, not under the Silkworm testnet, was roughly 900 swaps per second. That was under OC mode, obviously, at the time. So now with the 1-second blocks and with non-OC mode, which would be straight up just regular mainnet production type of thing, I can't tell you what that would be at because we haven't benchmarked it yet, but it's likely give or take similar. So it's still extremely performant. Another thing that's been coming up a lot is the question of block speeds and our choice for going with 1 second block speeds instead of 0.5 seconds. So faster block speeds does not mean more performance. This is part of what we benchmarked, but I invite you to go check the interview that I believe it was Brendan, Zack, and Arg did together. Maybe there was somebody else in there. Maybe Machias was in that interview talking about our choice for going with 1 second block speeds instead of 0.5 seconds, and why we actually believe that it is more performant based on our test, and what that means as well for compatibility. In terms of more performance, that ultimately somewhat of an ignorant comment to say that 0.5 seconds is faster than 1 second if you're just going based on block speeds. But I invited you to check out that deep dive in there.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. It's a great interview. Thank you for that context. That's really interesting. I love the technical details, so I appreciate it.
The OC mode, maybe touch upon that, is something for those who are running nodes, is something that we've had since launch in making configurations for BPs. And it does bring about improvements in the latency and the throughput. However, it does also bring about instability. And so that's why I do not believe that anybody runs OC mode, even though it is a feature. In the future, it is possible that we actually try to stabilize that mode, but it's not anywhere on the roadmap. So for those wondering, would we enable that, or would block producers essentially enable that anytime soon? The answer would be no, as far as I can tell, and there's not any movement towards making that stable right now. I don't know. Yeah, I also for the first time drew block that OC meant overclock, but it's not that. I'm not even sure it actually is an acronym for anything, but I do call it OC for overclock. And then it's easy to point to. And I don't recall, maybe I don't know if Matthew's here. We did run tests for a period of time, or anybody else who's here would be able to validate that. I think OC mode gives you about a 21st, give or take 20% boost. But just don't take my word for it. I don't recall if that's still accurate or not.
All right. Great question, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, cool. Let's keep it going, and let's talk about last week's blockchain events in Paris, San Francisco, and in Washington. Yves, do you want to kick us off and share a bit about your experience at the Paris Blockchain Week?
Sure. Lots of garbage in the street, protesters, fires in the street. Outside of that, because yes, my experience with Paris has been that so far. The event itself was pretty good. It was a nice location. The logistics of the events could have been improved. So there's work for them to do, especially considering they've been running Paris Blockchain Week now for years. I don't recall if it's 5 or 6, but it's definitely not their first kick at the can. The location was nice. The overall content of those that were there was great. We got really good conversations. We closed on a few deals while we were there that'll be announced in the coming weeks and such. I'd obviously just made the announcement as well of the commitment of $20 million towards GameFi and EVM prior to that. So a lot of people were interested in that and wanted to essentially start discussing and how they can apply. We had some people there that have deployed on other chains that are looking to make a migration to EOS because they're not satisfied with the level of support that they're getting. And that was one of the common themes, is that some of the competitor chains have capital, but they're really not very good at the support afterwards. So here's money, but then afterwards you're on your own type of thing. And that was not being seen positively at all. So obviously you need to pair that capital with non-financial support. So that was a common theme. We also heard quite a lot that the decisions that we made towards investing in EVM and GameFi are just being validated. That is where the majority of the capital is coming in from externals. That's where a lot of the developers are there from as well. And so overall, it was just a really good experience meeting some really interesting teams, developers, some stakeholders, VCs, etc. And kind of kicking off this season as well. So I'm going to be going to Hong Kong at the end of next week, and it's a very different crowd. So just generally, like the different markets in Paris, obviously it's France, but I would say that a lot of the players that were there are players that are not necessarily elsewhere, and that applies to every market, but France to a certain extent in particular. So it just also showcases and highlights that being everywhere all the time is really important. So that strategy that we began last September is definitely paying off.
Hey, Yves, I've got some bad news for you. We have found the definition of OC. It is optimized compiler, so I don't know if you can keep referring it to overclocking anymore. Sorry.
I said that I wasn't referring it to overclocking, but thank you, Kevin. Optimized compiler is essentially overclock, man. It's the same thing, Kevin. No, I like it. Thank you very much, Kevin. Kevin, actually, while you're there, do you know, because actually Kevin would be the person to know, in terms of performance increase, what does OC mode provide in terms of performance upboost? Do you know, by chance?
Wow. It's very dependent on the contract. So, you know, and which is why we don't recommend it on block producers, because it can, depending on the type of contract you're compiling, it can have infinite optimization. So just an example, if you wrote a for loop to count from 1 to a billion, you know, that would not execute in enough time in a normal contract. An optimized compiler can actually see that and say, oh, well, the answer is this, and switch it to one statement. So it really is just taking a contract, running it through an optimized compiler, and then running it natively. So the performance increases can be gigantic, or they can be, you know, small if your contract is spending most of its time, let's say, accessing database rows. You know, then that's going to be, you know, dependent on just your speed of your RAM and those sorts of things. So it is very dependent on the specific contract that you're compiling.
Awesome, thank you.
To bring it back to the Paris blockchain event, Yves, you mentioned that projects were inquiring on how they can apply for this funding for the you know, the 20 million that's been allocated for EOS EVM GameFi projects. I'm curious, actually. I'm not sure I've seen much details on how projects can apply. I know some team members of mine, Martin specifically, has had projects reach out to him. He was asking me this question. So yeah, is there much information now? Is that coming, or where? Who should people reach out to?
It will come in time. Right now, it is it's a manual process, and that's part of the reason why, by design, as you mentioned, Martin has people reaching out to him. Everybody wants money. The list of people that are looking for funding is way greater than the capacity to filter out right now. And so the focus is very much right now on individuals. If people do want to reach out, they reach out to me directly. They have been. But realistically, as I said, you know, the laundry list of people who are looking for funding is way longer than what we would be able to accommodate. And so by design, we're not there yet in terms of being able to have a long formal process to be able to accommodate the 1,000 applications that will come in if we put a website up.
Right, but there will be some sort of framework or process.
Correct, but not right now.
Okay, cool. All right, that's good. Okay, thanks for that Paris Blockchain Week recap. We also had the Game Developers Conference going on in San Francisco. I know the ENF had a couple people there. Let's see, do we have Brandon in the chat with us? Lovejoy around. Lovejoy does seem to be around. Brandon, do you want to speak a bit to your experience in San Francisco?
Yeah, hey, can you hear me all right?
Yes, welcome to the Fireside.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it was great. We had a really nice crew there representing ENF and the EOS Network at the Game Developers Conference. Pretty sizable event, lots of indie game studios, lots of major game studios. I know other people could probably speak a little bit more to some of the conversations they had around what these different studios are looking for. Just a lot of excitement around Web3, kind of this Web 2, Web3 transition, and people looking for different layer 1 solutions to build on. So a lot of good conversations there. We also had a booth with Upland, so we had a great opportunity to chat with the Upland crew and really connect with them. I know others met with the Atomic Hub crew, and yeah, it was a really cool event. I'm not a huge gamer, so for me it was kind of like, I mean, I want to be a big gamer after this event though, because honestly, it was just such a eye-opening like array of different really cool projects that I have never been exposed to. So you know, I'm a little older, so for me, it's like I grew up on some pretty primitive game systems, and where we're at nowadays is just frankly pretty mind-blowing to see. Yeah, it was really good. Maybe someone else, I don't know if Steven Diesel, Brian Hazard, or Sapna, or if you're hanging out and able to speak to your experience there, Zack.
I see Sapna's in the chat.
Hi. Hi,
Hey.
everyone.
Hi.
Yes.
Welcome to the Fireside.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So just to add to what Brandon said, we had a great time in San Francisco at the Game Developer Conference. I don't want to be booed, but also just getting interested in gaming here. But there was a big highlight on Web3 gaming, a lot of session tracks all 3 days. So lots of coverage around Web3 gaming, many discussions on creating in-game economies, revenue streams, things like that. Some of the concepts that were covered were player ownership, economic models, cross-title interoperability, tokenomics, kind of across the board. One of the common themes through all the sessions and conversations were really having a focus on acquiring new users, but with fun, focusing on fun and experience of the gamers, and then supplementing with the experience of the play to earn. So that as an entry point into Web3 gaming is really making sure that the gamers still have their experience and focusing on that. And the good news is there's a lot of opportunity and interest for education, and also interest in funding. And there was also excitement around the EOS EVM launch. So lots of conversation about that as well.
Great, thanks. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, just in case it wasn't clear, the Game Developers Conference is not a blockchain only or specific conference. It's really focused on game developers. There was Web 2 people there. There were Web 3 people there. There was, from what I heard, some that are not a fan of Web 3, others that are a fan of Web 3, and some in the middle. So I think a lot of progress can actually be made at those events and opening the eyes of some Web 2 people and get them into our world of Web 3.
There were 28,000 people in attendance, and I mean, it's called Game Developer Conference, so that's the demographic. Obviously, not everyone's a developer, but 28,000 people there were a lot, and a lot of studios, big brands. So obviously, you got the blockchain companies, you got Avalanche, Polygon. We were there, a bunch of others.
Were you there, Zack, in San Francisco?
Yeah, I got a souvenir too. I got another case of COVID twice in 6 months. Yeah, I was there. So, but it was really cool because it was like a good mix. It was cool seeing like blockchain company banners next to like Microsoft, for example. Outside of blockchain, I had a good conversation with the Discord team. Discord had a giant booth there. I aired out all of my grievances with them, including the fact that you can't turn notifications on for channel specific with a server over 2,000 people. I complained about you can't export an invoice for the boosts. And most importantly, the video restrictions that we have on these fireside chats. Whenever we have a group over, I think the limit's like 30. What is it, 30 that you can't do video over? They did say that they're working on that, so that's good to know. But I have no timelines, and I have no expectations that they'll make those improvements. But
thanks for bugging them on our behalf.
when I saw their booth, I was like, I need to let them know.
Nice.
Yeah, there are other giant companies too: Google, Adobe, Xbox, Sony. Like, it was a who's who of gaming at all levels. Unity had a very strong presence, and there's a lot of opportunities with them. Had conversations with them about the store, so they have the new decentralized category for SDKs. So we kind of have a really good understanding now of the path required to get there. Unreal Engine was there. Basically a who's who. Like, if you've ever like fired up a video game before, like on like PlayStation or Xbox, and like on the opening screens you just see a bunch of logos of all these little like parts that are in the game, like the Unreal Engines, like the Unities, like every one of those companies was there, and it was a really cool experience.
Very cool. A nice picture there, Brandon, that you just shared. That's great. I hadn't seen that one. And Julie shared a highlight video as well that I haven't seen. I don't know how I missed that one. But thanks for sharing, Julie. We'll hear from Julie in just a bit. But Brandon, do you want to maybe just go over who everyone is on this picture? I would give it a try, but I'm not 100% sure on anyone, so I don't want to mess that up.
Yeah, sure. From left to right, that's Areg, and then Steven Diesel and Brian Hazard and myself, and then Julie and Zack and Sapna and Bart Wyatt. And we're all collectively responsible. Blue Dog. Yeah, actually, the team hasn't even seen that photo yet. This is actually, I'm just kind of going through the Lightroom photos right now, or photos in Lightroom right now, and kind of getting everything tuned up and ready for public consumption.
Right on. Yeah, no, this is great. Also putting some faces to some voices that I talked to here on the Fireside that I'm not necessarily ever seen before. So that's great. Awesome.
He's working on a recap, so I think that's where you'll see these pictures. That's why you haven't seen them, is because the post is not finished yet.
Dropping some photo alpha for the Fireside chat.
Yeah, I mean, if that's important to people, I guess you get the alpha if you really
it's always important to have things early for those of us who show up at the Fireside.
But on that note, a lot of those people in that picture, that was the first time a lot of us met. So I met I met all the people from marketing and product in January. We had a offsite near Washington, D.C. But for example, it was the first time I think Brandon, it was the first time met a lot of the team. So I thought like that was one of the things I was looking forward. Any of these trips, it's to have that in-person, I don't know, connections that you can make that you can't do remotely, even if you work together every day. So I think there was a lot of value had there as far as like the ENF and our kind of work culture, things like that, and our unified goals, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something that at EOS Nation we've been wanting a team meetup. We're working on planning one soon. So I'm jealous of you guys having a lot of opportunities to travel, meet people from the wider crypto space, but also people that you work closely together every day. So maybe I'll throw a when EOS community conference there over to Yves.
Yeah. So that's the other thing, is it wasn't just I guess the team's important too, but at these conferences, so this wasn't a Web3 conference. There was Web3 there for sure, but out of the 28,000 people, the audience was maybe 8,000 out of the 28,000.
Oh, that's still pretty.
No, I mean, well, I just made that number up too. So
no, but it's a guess.
There were a lot of haters. There were a lot of people that were interested. There were a lot of haters, and that's okay. But the next, backtrack. There were a lot of people from the Antelope and EOS community there. So we met with like Alien Worlds, Atomic Hub was there, Telos was there. So it was also like as important as it was to meet face to face our own team that we work with every day, it's also important to get that face to face connection with the builders and just regular token holders and community members. So I don't have an answer. Maybe Julie has the latest update. Nothing's concrete for the EOS Community Conference that is being planned for later in the year. But so, for example, at Paris Blockchain Week, they did a side event, a wine and cheese tasting event that had a lot of VIPs there, a lot of VCs, projects. But we're also going to do another side event at Consensus. So Consensus, I believe, is April 26th to the 28th. I don't have the dates in front of me. It's definitely the last week of April. We will be there. We will have several team members there, and we will be hosting a side event. I want to get the side event information out as soon as we can, preferably even before the Eden election next weekend, because I think it would be a really good thing to campaign for is basically being able to come join us at the EOS event at Consensus. So we're targeting at least 100, or I think not targeting at least, I think 100 is our capacity. So we need probably 250, 300 registrations to make sure we hit that goal, because there's always a lot of no-shows. I put the first feeler out yesterday in the ENF Telegram. I said, who is going to be at Consensus, ? And not a whole lot of people responded. So I'll put that question out there again in this chat, is who is going to be at Consensus, because I'd love to see your beautiful face.
Where is it?
To the event.
Hey, Zack, it's Julie. I can jump in and fill in those.
Yeah, you have the details.
Yeah,
Thank
so we'll be hosting, it's kind of like a welcome to Consensus event. So it'll actually be on Tuesday evening. The conference starts on Wednesday, so on Tuesday evening. So Tuesday, April 25th from 5 to 7 p.m. We have actually confirmed we'll be taking over the Central District Brewing. It's about a 5-minute walk from the convention center. We are also working with the Blockchain Game Alliance and Telos to put together a small panel of speakers for a really short panel as part of that event. Right now, kind of looking at a Web 2 to Web 3 and the future of GameFi as a high-level topic. As we get some of the panelists confirmed, we'll kind of narrow down that topic a little bit more, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now for Consensus. And as Zack mentioned, it does have capacity of 100 attendees. And literally, this is hot off the press, so I don't have invites or anything. Those will likely be going out next week, and we'll get links for registration and whatnot up next week.
What city is this event being held in?
Oh, that would help. Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Nice.
Yeah. So the other thing is, you asked when EOS Community Conference. I don't have the answer to that, and this event is not even being branded as like EOS Meetup or something, because that's not how you're going to attract the audiences that we're trying to attract. So it is a broader kind of topic, like named event. So it's not just like an EOS-centric thing. But ideally, because of
but we
the
can
panel,
still show up in numbers.
Oh yeah, it's a subliminal sale. The more community members we have singing the praises of EOS to all of the Polygon and Avalanche fans, that would be nice. And also, like I said, the big thing for me is I think there's clearly something intangible with real life meetings and relationships that you cannot replicate on the internet. So I would love to see a lot of the people, meet a lot of the people who we interact with daily throughout the EOS community. Also, I did hear that Consensus seems to be having some fire sales on tickets too. So if anyone will be in the area and wants to attend a conference, I've heard rumors of them doing like buy one, get 3 free type of deals. So check out the promo codes, Google search for promo codes. But I'm hearing more and more that they're scrambling to sell more tickets. So it's a good opportunity because the tickets are typically pricey, as most crypto conferences are. There are some backdoor ways to get cheaper tickets. For example, if you're a developer, and I forget how they validate you're a developer. It's not that difficult. I think you just got to share a GitHub link. You get like basically a $50 or $100 ticket into consensus for developers. So, or students if you have a .edu email address. Otherwise, the tickets can be expensive if you pay full price. Don't pay full price.
We need a cheap ticket for Dave. Dave from producing the Fireside here. He's in that area. Let's get up there.
I heard a rumor that some people might consider campaigning in the Eden election to use some of their funds to go to consensus, or maybe send other people to consensus too. So I don't know if there's any merit to that rumor, but it sounds like a good idea to me.
Yes, that sounds like a great idea. I need something new to campaign on the Eden election.
Yeah,
not looking to repeat the last elections.
The bigger presence EOS could have at consensus, the better. I mean, this is like the crypto Super Bowl, at least in the North America.
Yeah, and last year it was just me, so it'll be better to have more folks. That's for sure.
Rhett sharing some more pictures. Paris Blockchain Week. Yeah, these are great pictures I hadn't seen. Looks like Yves lost a little bit of weight since his last conference. Good stuff, Yves. Nice to see you hitting the gym. Yes, Drew Block, you should make the 22-hour drive. It's not even 24 hours. Come on. Get out there to Austin, Texas. There's a big poker scene in Austin, Texas as well. There's some poker rooms I've been wanting to check out there. Maybe I'll do a little 2-for-1 trip. Crypto and poker, two of my favorite things. All right, I think that covers the events recap. Thank you, Yves, Brandon, Sapna, Julie, for sharing your experiences. I am pretty jealous of all of these conferences you guys get to go to, and I'm looking forward to joining everyone for the EOS Community Conference whenever that happens next. All right, I guess speaking of poker, we had our EOS Community Poker Tournament, 3rd edition on Sunday. We had 45 players show up, win some great prizes, donate some money to some Pomelo Season 5 grants, and I was victorious. I was able to get the job done, finish first place out of 45 runners. Not a joke, guys, when I say I like poker, and I'm pretty good at it. All I needed to do was beat Rodrigo's aces with my ace king. Very easy, very skillful game. In case you guys were wondering, I'm not taking any of the prizes, so whatever spot you finished in, you'll get bumped one more spot up there. I sent out some of the prizes, still a couple prizes left to be sent out. So if you participated in a poker tournament, check out your EOS account for some cool NFT prizes. All right, next up, Upland. We mentioned, I think Julie mentioned that there was a joint event with Upland. There was also the Upland Hackathon that was announced last week. I don't know who from the ENF can talk about this. I think I'm going to ask Zack maybe to talk about this hackathon. Maybe share a bit more information.
Yeah, I mean, it's a multi-month hackathon. It will conclude at an event in Las Vegas in, I believe, June. We will have a judge on that panel, TBD on who it will be. But essentially, it's a hackathon targeting Web 2 developers to build on Web 3. Upland has a very nice SDK that allows a developer to kind of build a game and leverage all of the components that Upland built for their metaverse. So, for example, their fiat on-ramps, their NFT minting, which mints NFTs on EOS, their resource management, their account recycling, or the account just system in general. It allows a developer to tap into all of that without having to build it themselves. They really just build the game components, which are not related to a blockchain. But underneath the surface, they very much are building on top of EOS, because everything that runs through the SDK runs through Upland, which runs through their Upland smart contract on EOS. So all of the, like I said, the NFT, any digital assets leveraged in game, regardless of the type of game, would leverage EOS. So we are a co-sponsor of the hackathon alongside FIFA World Cup, the Women's World Cup. So we're the two, I guess, sponsorship partners. So we're contributing to the overall prize pool. And I think we'll be doing more and more with Upland over the coming forever. They are obviously the top application on EOS and a top 5 DApp across all blockchains. So there's just lots of opportunity to work with them. And this hackathon is, I guess, step one of that budding friendship, let's say. We spent a lot of time with them, obviously sharing the booth. Got to spend a lot of time with one of their co-CEOs, and then their other co-CEO was in Paris. Met with Yves and Patty. So yeah, Upland, lots to be excited for. They have a lot of things that they're building also, and even some of the stuff that they've already built. I was made aware of things that I didn't even know about. That was really interesting, different functionality that they've built that is very useful to any developer, whether they're building a game or anything on a blockchain. There's different components that they discussed that I think are worth following up on from a technical standpoint on how certain things have been done. But that's in a nutshell, the hackathon. Just a way to onboard developers, always trying to attract developers. Educated the Upland team on Pomelo, for example, because technically a project building on top of the Upland metaverse is building on EOS, because all of the NFTs, all of the resources, all of the CPU, it's all happening on EOS. So by default, like a project building through this SDK is building on EOS. So let them know about more about Pomelo, because they're aware but not as aware as they are after having an hour-long conversation about it. And I think there might be some potential in the future. So I know Daniel's brought up the categories idea for having like a GameFi category, or having like a Telos category or some other chain category based on other tokens, for example. So I kind of brought up some of that with them. So maybe one day in the future, if we have buckets for Pomelo matching, we could do like Upland funds, a bucket for specific developing in the Upland metaverse, and having those go through Pomelo sometime in the future. I think there's opportunity there. But obviously those features need to roll out first. Yeah, Upland's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I shared some link here above about the hackathon, about the March Motors sale that's going on. You can now buy cars. I know there's a car racing app that's built on top of the Upland metaverse. So it's very cool seeing how this metaverse is developing.
That was one of the more interesting things, was the extensions of their metaverse, like that racing game in particular. It's like a separate application. Like I was under the impression that you had to go through like the Upland app, and there's some store, you had to install things through there, and you knew you were in Upland. But it seems like the way it's built is like the racing game in particular, it's like a separate app. Like I think because it's a flagship product, it's got some Upland branding in it, but that's not even a requirement. But it seems like they've got a lot of third parties they're integrating with. Just because we were like just going back and forth, flying around to meetings and hearing like if we're in the middle of a conversation, like, oh, I got to go meet with XYZ, and just name dropping things. They're making a lot of big moves themselves. They've clearly showcased a strong ability to form strategic partnerships with big brands. That's one of the values that EOS will benefit from because of this closer association with Upland than we've had previously. They've previously partnered with like the NFL Players Association, the FIFA Men's World Cup, and now the Women's World Cup. Susan Cohen, the Breast Cancer Foundation, UNICEF. Like they've had some major partnerships in the past, and that was one of the cooler parts of the hackathon is we're not partnered with FIFA as the EOS Network or the EOS Network Foundation, but we're partnered with Upland. Upland's also partnered with FIFA. And in the press release, it's kind of like we get to benefit from being in the same conversation as these large partners. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to have more direct collaborations with some of them.
Martin on our .gems team ran our company account, if you want, on Upland. And, we've had properties that have been accumulating rent or whatever over the last couple of years. We haven't been that active on it lately. Too busy for gaming these days. But this morning, Martin told me that he spent all our money buying a car. So there we go. So now we have a car, or a van, actually a transport van in Upland. So yeah, fun stuff. There's also new guides apparently for Upland. So if you're new to Upland or you want to join, there's some nice guides to help you get started there. All right, moving on.
Wait. I hope I get a car. I hope I get a car. There are like 2,000 people in the waiting list for like 20 Carmens. It's crazy.
Wait,
it's
I thought
nuts.
You hyped me up on we were gonna have our transport van. What? Now we may not have a transport van. Oh man.
We need to be very lucky. 2,000 people need to miss their place in the queue.
Oh yeah.
Unlikely to happen. It's crazy. I already missed on the first sale. So yeah, kudos to Upland. They have a large community. Super proud that they are on EOS.
Yeah, for sure. Round of applause for Upland. There we go. All right, let's move on.
We'll have them on here too. So that's some of the things that are coming up is we doing a podcast, let them tell their own story, because not everyone in the EOS community is as familiar with Upland as obviously the Upland team. And their target demographic isn't necessarily the EOS community. They're targeting like just the gaming community and a broader audience. So we'll be doing a podcast with them, but they also will be on a fireside chat whenever we want to invite them, and we'll probably wait until they have some news to unveil. But yeah, more to come. Because I can't obviously repeat everything that I learned about them. I mean, I always knew about Upland, but I basically took a graduate course on it last week, and it'd be best if they tell their own story. So we do have a podcast in the works in the next couple of weeks. We'll put that out, and then anytime we could always bring them here as well. They're happy to do it.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Love to hear it. Okay, cool. So moving on to.
I can't reach the internet right now.
Whoa, my smart speaker just became alive. All right. Let's move on to Pomelo Grants. Season 5 wrapped up last week. Let's see here if Daniel is around and wants to give us some season stats update, maybe.
Hey, thank you, Steph. And by the way, I just added you a new role in the server, Poker Chat. Congrats.
Yes, that's right. We added those new roles last week. Booyah. One of 3 poker champs in existence. Yes.
So yeah, Pomelo, season 5. We're in the analysis phase now. Season's not quite over, but the donation period's over. That's kind of one of the most exciting phases of the season. But the analysis phase is equally important and also exciting in my view. And I'm happy to share the results we have in terms of participation in season 5. And I've already shared, I think, in previous firesides, our application numbers. Now that donations are closed, I can share some more final donation numbers. But I'll refresh everyone's memory. When it came to applications, we had 187 applications. 127 of those were approved. We've raised a total of 73,897 EOS. That's according to the time that the donations were made. In USD value, that's about $84,000, which is pretty good. We're only slightly less than season 4 in terms of value raised. If we look at season 4, we had 95,000 EOS, which was about $94,000 at the time. So the prices of EOS is about a little higher now compared to season 4. That's nice. But the matching pool, the size of the matching pool in season 4 was 365,000. We're at 170,000 this season. So as a percentage, I didn't do the math yet, but I can say we're higher in terms of. Okay, what are we at in terms of percentages of matching pool?
There you go. So I ran so this, we were actually talking about that earlier in the day, the ratio of funds raised compared to the matching pool. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I went back and I calculated it for all of the seasons, and basically season 5, the matching pool was a bit lower, about twice as low. You know, last season we had 365,000, this season around 170, but the funds raised was about the same in terms of dollar terms. It wasn't that much of a reduction. So I think that's a pretty good signal, you know, that the Pomelo, that the EOS community is engaged with Pomelo. And we can see here the ratio of the prize pool divided by donations is the the best ratio we've had so far. Basically, the matching pool was only twice as large as the amount of funds raised, which I think is a nice ratio to have. We can see here earlier in the season 1, season 2, we had much higher ratios. 3.76 ratio for season 1, 6.47. That's because we had a mega large prize pool in season 2, matching pool, I mean. And then 2.92 ratio for season 3, 3.87 for season 4, and then season 5, 2.02, our best ratio in terms of amounts of funds raised compared to the size of the matching pool.
Very cool. Thanks for crunching the numbers there for us, and not just for the last couple seasons, but all the seasons. That's awesome. And yeah, for those wondering, yeah, we're golf rules here. Lower number is better. So we got the lowest ratio here in the most recent season, which is a good indication that we're trending in the right direction. So thank you. And then I guess the other thing to mention, and I've hinted at this in again on Fireside and some of my other interviews out there. By the way, shout out to Lovejoy. Thanks for the great chat we had. Was it a couple weeks ago? I'm losing track of time, but had a nice time over some tea, talking about Pomelo season 5 and future plans and all that sort of stuff. And I think we touched on there some of the new incentives. Well, not necessarily new incentives, expanded incentives. We've sort of piloted in some previous seasons, providing some incentives to the community who help to catch bad actors and report examples of cheating happening in Pomelo by sharing, hard evidence, like for example, a screenshot of somebody offering a reward in exchange for a donation. In season 3 and season 4, we did kind of little tests to small portions of the population, and actually in season 4, a couple of the grants that got disqualified were because of the evidence we received in that little pilot. So in this season, we're expanding that. Basically, everybody who is a donor should have received an email. We've got an article published. Thank you, Steph, for sharing that article in the chat. With this kind of making this incentive program just more broadly available to all of the donors, and we'll see what happens, what kind of reports we get, if it's valuable, and if we need to adjust this program for future seasons. So have a look at the article. Let us know. Reply to the email if you've received it, and if you didn't receive it, you can always also just send us an email to support@pomelo.io, and share your feedback of your experience going through that. We'll be sending a feedback survey soon about the experience of season 5, like we do after every season, and there'll likely be some questions around this incentive program on that survey.
Yeah, I like the way you guys structured this incentive program. At first, I wasn't sure about it, but after thinking about it some more, I like a lot. Basically, if you're trying to scam Pomelo some way somehow, and you ask anyone to help you try to cheat in Pomelo, know that those people are now highly incentivized to turn you in. And so I think this actually makes a lot of sense. Like you said, last year or last season, this program wasn't as public or available. I'm not too sure exactly on the details, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes this season. But overall, overall, I like the incentives behind this program.
Yeah, the attackers need to incentivize all of their donors to donate, and so usually it's a small incentive, like donate 1 EOS and we'll give you 2 back. So all we need to do is offer more than that, and we only need one person. Maybe they got hundreds of donors they've incentivized to donate to the project. We only need one of them to come forward with evidence. So it's not only, I would say this program is not only a good way of catching those that are trying to manipulate the system, through the reports we get, but just the fact that this incentive program exists will hopefully be a deterrent from those who want to attempt that type of an attack, because again, this raises the risk level and makes it more likely that you're going to spend money that doesn't go to any good use because you get disqualified, and now you have to pay out incentives and all of those donations. There was that 20% that gets taken, so you don't even get all the donations back. So we'll see. I think I'm excited to see what now with this program being more public, more widely available, if the behavior changes in future seasons.
All right, good stuff. What else do we have here on the Pomelo docket? Oh yes, the Defibox promotion. Shout out to Defibox. We love it when they run promotions with our Pomelo NFTs. They're doing another Pomelo dual mining promotion. So if you're a holder of the Pomelo astronaut tokens, the robots, the crews, the rockets, the diamonds, you can convert those NFTs into fungible tokens and deposit those fungible tokens paired up with EOS into a Defibox liquidity pool. And Defibox is awarding some bonus APY for looks like 3 months, March 28th to June 28th. So all of April, May, and June, basically. So if you got some extra Pomelo NFTs laying around in your account, probably worth taking a couple minutes and putting those into a Defibox pool. Get to experience the merging of DeFi and NFTs at the same time. Pretty cool. Get to play around with a lot of the NFT tech that Denis has been developing on EOS that we are featuring through our Pomelo NFT series, and get in there. Of course, you can go to harvest.pomelo.io to get all of your Pomelo NFT needs, get your NFTs in the pool, all that good stuff. And also send your Pomelo astronauts for the Bitcoin Ordinals mission. So the contest that we had running ended a day ago. Prizes have not been sent yet, but they will be soon over the next couple of days. We had 130 or more participants in that contest, so that's great. Love to see you guys getting involved on social media, helping us share the project, and hopefully earning yourself a Pomelo astronaut. So one little alpha drop I want to share with you guys regarding this Pomelo Ordinal mission. So the mission is launching soon. So maximum of 2 Pomelo astronauts per account. We've said that already. What we haven't said yet is that we've hired a professional pixel artist that is actually going to be reworking the artwork of your favorite Pomelo astronauts in order to make them a more reasonable size for the Bitcoin blockchain, which is very expensive to inscribe data onto. So if you, so when you receive your Pomelo astronaut as your Bitcoin Ordinal NFT, you will have a slightly different look to your Pomelo astronaut. So I've seen a couple of the reworks. They're looking very cool, and looking forward to seeing how my two astronauts end up. So get in there. Spaces are limited on this Pomelo astronaut ordinal mission, but there's still room available. So get in there, send your astronaut, join us on this mission. Who knows what's going to happen during this mission? All right. As always, we welcome you guys to join the show at any time, share your questions, thoughts, etc. Join the PopBot chat, claim your POP token if you haven't done so already. We had up to 83 people in the Fireside chat today. That's awesome. That's got to be close to a recent all-time high record. So love seeing you guys join us every Wednesday. All right. Let's see here. What else do we have? Some smaller pieces of news that I'd like to share with everyone. First up, we've got Alcor Exchange. The Alcor Inter-Blockchain Communication Bridge is now live. Performing trustless token transfers between Antelope chains has never been easier. Start exploring new horizons at wax.alcor.exchange/bridge. And if we go there, it actually does look very easy to do these token swaps. Haven't tried it out yet, but let me share a quick screenshot of the bridge, which you can see here a bit in the tweet. But yeah, so you can choose send from EOS, Telos, EOS networks to one of these other networks as well. Connect both wallets from each chain, and then you can access the trustless IBC bridge that now exists between all of these Antelope chains. I don't know if anyone has tried it out yet. Love to hear some feedback if you did. Patrick seems very excited. Let us know, Patrick, if you try it out. And on that topic of IBC and inter-blockchain communication between Antelope chains, Wax has announced that they are in the process of joining us on the latest version, or one of the latest versions of the Antelope blockchain protocol, which will allow Wax to join EOS, Telos, and UX in the IBC for all of these Antelope networks. So that's very exciting. And then if you, and also we also found a little nugget here buried in a reply to a Ultra for Life tweet that I'm going to share here. That, and then we've got Hanson David, I think one of the co-CEOs of Ultra, not too sure, confirming that Ultra will be IBC compatible when they're done implementing the latest protocol updates. So that's great to see. We could potentially see Ultra joining the list of Antelope blockchains that are IBC connected and ready. So that's very cool. Another quick hitter here for you guys. We've got SNTNL.io introducing their latest tool, a self-hosted GitHub action that automatically evaluates EOSIO smart contracts for potential vulnerabilities with every push request. Currently leveraging OpenAI for vulnerability scanning, hashtag EOS, hashtag GPT-4. So there we go. We've got some AI working our smart contracts for us at this point from the team over at Sentinel. That's great. Oh, Yves coming in with some clarifications. Didn't even know Yves was still here. I was wrong. IBC doesn't work that way. They would need to be approved by the coalition, which they aren't a part of. So Yves is referring to Ultra's potential desire to join the Antelope IBC network, basically, and which they would need to be approved by the coalition. And currently, the Antelope coalition is made up of EOS, UX, Wax, and Telos. So Ultra did not decide to join the coalition back when it was forming. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. I don't know, Yves, if you have anything else to share on that, like some requirements maybe that networks outside of the coalition would need to, attain before being approved, or we can just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, I can chime in. So we've talked about this before. If you're following along the Antelope Coalition calls, we've talked about what it would take for a member to join the coalition. We also talked about that even if a new member were to join the coalition, that does not mean that they automatically get whitelisted in the IBC contracts. We also talked about that essentially there's nothing preventing one coalition member to doing, I guess, intra IBC in a way. So an example of that would be an application running on a chain that now is connected to that chain through IBC, but that does not mean that that application in this example would be connected to the other chains. So there's multiple levels of this. For the purpose of this discussion, this idea that IBC right now is currently between the actually only the 3 chains because Wax is not there yet. They will eventually be able to join IBC, but they're currently not there. So they would get approved. Essentially, they'd be able to join. But right now, there have been no discussions for Ultra to be whitelisted in here. So there are multiple considerations to take. One is security, funding, etc. And so we've not had those discussions at all with Ultra, let alone the coalition side of things, since they bowed out and decided not to join a little over a year ago. If Ultra is interested, obviously they can reach out. As a coalition, we've talked about this on multiple occasions. There have been no other chains serious enough to actually go through the very tiny process that we've even put in place right now, which is simply filling out a 5-question questionnaire. And so if they were to do that, and then we assess, and then obviously there's going to be a cost because the coalition members so far have dispersed a lot of capital in this, especially in IBC in particular. We've had to, we paid to develop this, open source this, essentially kind of buy the rights to the IBC that UX had developed. And so if Ultra is interested in this, they can reach out. But as far as I know, they have not, which means, as far as I know, they're not getting IBC. Having said that, IBC is open source. That was part of what we did. And so they could deploy IBC with, by themselves and run by themselves and leverage the product itself by themselves. But that does not mean that they're connected to us. Those are separate things.
Okay, great. Thank you for those clarifications. On the topic of audits, while we're talking about Sentinel, also wanted to highlight a recent tweet from the EOS Network Foundation announcing that starting on April 15th, the Yield Plus program will require that participating protocols receive an audit from a reputable firm. If your project is participating, ensure you have an audit in place in order to continue receiving funds from Yield Plus. That's as of April 15th, which makes sense. I like this requirement for the Yield Plus program. And yes, just wanted to share that quick piece of news. If some of you out there have protocols that are earning, make sure you get an audit. Phil asked how the Alcor IBC differs from the Antelope IBC. I think the Alcor IBC is the Antelope IBC. I think it's just kind of, they've built a UI for it that is very easy to use. Would love if someone can confirm or deny that, but that's going to be my answer at this point.
Yeah, it's just a UI implementation that wraps on top of the existing smart contracts. So it's just a UI front end.
Excellent. Thanks, Denis, for that confirmation. All right, and finally, our last topic of the day, Eden election is coming up soon. We've got a next one in 8, 9, 10 days. What is it? April 8th, Saturday, April 8th, 1 p.m. UTC. Hopefully the time is accurate this time around. Remember, you need to sign in. Sign into the election at least 24 hours before the election. I know some of you missed that deadline 3 months ago. So you can go right now on that link I shared, sign up to participate to the election. There's 46 members participating at this point. I know we have a couple of chief delegates in here, a couple of layer 1 delegates in here as well. If any of you guys want to maybe share some thoughts on your term as in Eden, feel free to do so at this point. If you're listening on the replay, we'll have some time next week as well. If you guys want to say a little something. I know Patrick is with us today. He was one of the chief delegates of the last term. So Patrick, did you want to spend a couple minutes sharing some thoughts?
Okay.
Patrick, I see you're unmuted, but I do not hear you. Lewis is hoping to find his election room this time and have more than 8 minutes left in the pitch session for the Eden election. I hope that's the case for you, Lewis. Yeah, Patrick, maybe try to leave and join again to fix your audio issue. Other than that, if anyone else... Oh, yes?
Yeah, this is Drew Block. I am a level 1 delegate.
All right.
But one thing I will mention is just to shout out the chief delegates. I've been pursuing sort of creating a new account for Eden Rex. Almost done with that, but I've been bugging the CDs to sign my multi-sig transactions, and they have, so much appreciated. And I'm looking forward to this next season. Is that what we're calling them? Of Eden?
Term, I think.
The term.
Technical.
That's a better term for it.
Yeah. Daniel Keys was a layer 1 as well. He created a collection on Pomelo where his budget went to for those Pomelo grants. That's very cool. I know Patrick made some large donations of his funds as well through Pomelo. He's, I think, one of the top donors for this season, which is great. Would love to hear from you, Patrick, but feeling like that may not happen today. Hopefully get your audio fixed up for next week.
I am a layer 1 as well. Rhett here, Zaizan.
Hey, Rhett.
I was driving, so I couldn't really reflect on what Yves said on Paris, but maybe some words from my perspective.
Yes. For sure.
Yves really killed it. I really thought he was very concise, very sharp in the panel. I spoke with some people after that didn't know about EOS and but are into, for example, DAOs and the whole EOS, the new EOS, the turnaround. People like that. The community.
Hello.
Hey, Patrick.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we have you sounding clear now.
Sorry to interrupt you, Rhett, and shout out to you. Continue. I will jump after you.
You can. So that was Yves killed it really on stage. Some other feedbacks. The CEO of Circle was very sharp on the whole choke point 2.0. Usually CEOs of big firms are very like polite and politically correct, I would say, and he wasn't. He was incredibly sharp to everything that is going on in the crypto space. The U.S. government, he really didn't hold back. He was very sharp in what he saw the U.S. government doing with the crypto industry, with Choke Point 2.0. So really shout out to that CEO. He did a good thing. The Circle guys had a very big booth. I had lengthy conversations with them, with people like solution architects on how they see a future where stable coins run on blockchains, public blockchains, private blockchains. They really like the layer 1 chains, their functionality. Their stablecoin, of course, needs railroad tracks that are performant, where you can do microtransactions in volumes, where you can do large and small payments on the new generation of payment infrastructure. And of course, the Antelope chains are very well positioned for that. The event of ENF was handled by them. We supported a little bit. Last minute, there were a lot of no-shows, so we were able to get some people in last minute. We were there at these events. There's especially because Paris is very expensive. It's like the tickets are 2,900 euros. So there's a lot of people that come to Paris but only go to the side events. So there's a lot of side events parallel, like 10 side events each night. And yeah, people just sign up to everything. So that means that if there's 10 side events, you automatically look at 90% no-shows. So that is a challenge, how to prep for that. The event, I shared some pictures. As you see, it was an amazing location, somewhere down in the basements of a building, very well organized. Yeah, the pity is that there's a little bit of no show. So but we were able to. We're at these events nowadays. There's a lot of like WhatsApp groups of friends that say, "Okay, are you going to Paris?" So I was in a Dubai investor Paris group, and I was in a Dutch WhatsApp group. And then last minute, you just text that some people. So then some people show up. So that's good. It was a good crowd, very interesting crowd. Game developers, even a famous comedian, French comedian that I've never heard of, but everybody wanted to have a picture with him. So it looked like he was famous. So that was good. We visited a lot of booths, game developers. And INATBA. INATBA is a European blockchain association. We had lengthy conversations with them as well about the Antelope ecosystem and how they could help us. Zaizan is a member of that organization, and them having a booth. Our vision with the whole Antelope ecosystem was very, very interesting for them. The gaming vision was interesting for them. Unfortunately, I discovered that one of my contacts, basically a friend of a friend, was doing the PR for Paris blockchain, a Dutch guy. His firm handles the PR for Paris blockchain. I didn't know that. I discovered that during the event. But next year, that gives us some interesting opportunities, because he definitely knows the French network. It's a bit strange. French normally shop with French. It's very nationalistic, that country. So that a Dutch PR firm has the PR of the Paris blockchain, that surprised me. But yeah, that gives us some possibility for next year. And I'll be participating in the Eden election next year, next round. Looking forward for that. I'm now more educated in that. And yeah, I think with that, we can continue our good work. So looking forward. Patrick, sorry.
Excellent. Thank you, Rhett, for this interesting perspective on the Paris Blockchain Week. I enjoyed hearing about that. All right, Patrick, stage is yours. We got 16 minutes before 2 hours. So you got 16 minutes, Patrick.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stephane, and thank you, Rhett, for your big work on the booths. And looking forward to see you on the next election on April 7 coming. So for me, that's an amazing experience to be a chief delegate. One thing that I was very committed before to even envision to become a CD or a delegate level 1 again, whatever would happen, I will do what I was committed for. That was to make sure that we have the unclaimed funds going back to the treasury, and for that I have with my other chief delegates, shout out Nathan James, Joshua, and Joey. We have participated for Edenia, for Edgar and Xavier, that they could develop this functionality to send back the funds to the treasury. There is a min variable and a max variable. The min variable is 1 month. The max variable is 3 months. So that will be implemented. That's the good point. Then I was very committed also to have the upvote bot by Luca Persic to be very functional for the next election, making reminders when the videos are not uploaded after the 2 weeks period after the hidden election. You have 2 weeks to push your video on IPFS, and you have some people that was not able to do so. So now in conjunction with Edenia, the upvote bot will give a reminder 24 hours, 48 hours before the end. So that's very helpful functionality, the upvote bot. And also all this term that was agreed to have the video experience on Telegram. For the first time, we did all the episode directly into Telegram, and also I published it on YouTube. So I will put here a link to the playlist of all the videos that we have made until now. And tomorrow is at 1900 UTC. We have our CD meeting number 10. We were missing the last week because we were very busy, everyone. But we are again to the full effective tomorrow, the 4th CD. So that will be our CD meeting 10 tomorrow. And each of those videos is on IPFS. That's the cool point, because Edenia is giving us a subscription plan with Pinata. And you can see that into this mind map, hidden dashboard that I have updated during this term 5. You have the CD video that I have made, and I have used the funds to pay me myself to do those videos. Otherwise, all the funds that I have received from the CD term 5 distribution, I have used all the funds to pay for other projects that are very helpful for hidden on EOS, for EOS to strive. And I have also used to pay to send my contribution to every Pomelo grant that I was seeing collaboration with, or that I will collaborate into the future. So I have gave 50 EOS to a lot of those grants. So basically, all my funds are used. We arrive on next week on April 7. My funds are used. I am happy. Yeah, baby, that was a really great experience. And I think the CD accountability of a CD is to manage very well the funds, to allocate those funds for other projects on Pomelo, on hidden EOS because it's a sandbox machine, and I enjoy very much the call that we had with Yves Larose. That was very oriented to strengthen the processes on this term. That's exactly what we have made. Shout out to Nathan for the why channel that he has made. Shout out to Joey for his work with EOS Go, and shout out to Joshua that is trying to link the other languages. So we have done what we can do with what we have, and I was committed to do what I would do. And when I look back what I have made all what I was testifying, and I have made the action, and I have delivered, and I am happy to go on next election again. I will go as a CD. I want to go as a CD again. I have a lot of projects, and I am also in contact with Jesse Jaffe during this term as a CD liaison. He has made a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Jesse. And that was a great experience also to do the videos, to edit the videos. I love to do so. And sometimes that was some depress because there was not a lot of people joining. But I made all in order that we have a good experience, the best experience possible there, and never depress, always good vibes. And I thank you everyone to have joined. And finally, the last initiative of Andrew Ware, we have approved his Msig with Rex. He want to do something with that, so very welcome. Yeah, we have to help the people. We have to help us each other, give EOS to others that with who we will collaborate. That's not prohibited. That's not sponsoring. That's collaboration. So thank you, everyone. And go EOS, and go Eden on EOS, and go Antelope Networks, and EOS Digital Extended Network that I have just started. I will share more soon. I am working with that with Vlad for the smart contract part. I am on Defibox with the NCO token. I will fund myself this project with my love money, with my LLC. And I will continue to work with the bees, collaborate with every project that I see a good value into this ecosystem. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Patrick, for that nice recap, and thanks for all the work you've done for the EOS community over this last term and over the last few years as well. All right, so let's open it up. Yes, sir. Let's open it up to the crowd now. If you have any questions for someone, if you've got an update you want to share, or if you've just got some off-topic stuff you want to discuss, feel free to jump on stage and say what you want.
Hey, this is Drew Block again. I just wanted to specifically on the topic of Eden shout out Nathan James, because I like Patrick said, I think that why exercise that the Eden community did was a super valuable way of sort of really getting down to brass tacks in terms of what the actual purpose and sort of the vision for Eden is. Kind of harder to settle upon when you're dealing with a decentralized community as opposed to, you know, the CEO saying this is the vision. So I thought that was a very valuable exercise, and yeah, very much appreciated it. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, and thank you, Andrew, thank you to Andrew to have joined fast all the CD meetings. You were every time there. Sometimes just to say hello, give some respect, and sometimes to ask thoughtful questions. So I appreciate a lot. The best mustache in the galaxy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And maybe an interesting add-on. We have been approached lately for or by all kinds of like TV shows that, like, for example, The Voice of Holland is Dutch. Originally, The Voice of Holland, The Voice of France, The Voice of So the voice off, that concept is a Dutch TV show. And there's multiple TV shows. Big Brother was Dutch as well. So we've been approached by multiple IP labels, TV shows, on Amazon, on Netflix, that sort of concept. And all of them are very interested in Web3 and building communities around a formula. And the Eden software is very interesting to select community members and build a sort of leadership around it. So when you talk with that sort of TV programs, they all want to check out Eden and the videos. So the material that you guys make are very helpful for me to share our vision of decentralized governance. And yeah, maybe you never thought of that, like these TV shows, but you can imagine a fan base of those TV shows, or a fan base of Barcelona, or a fan base of using the Eden software to structure themselves. I think it's very, very interesting.
Hey, this is Jesse with the Bees. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jesse. Welcome to the Fireside once again.
Hey, everyone. I wanted to, I'll just quickly do the, I'll quickly do the Eden thing, and then I want to share something else. And so another great term, we're getting set up right now for the voting SBTs for the next election. And we've been working on that mostly. And it's been great to see the CDs this term, all the interesting things they've been working on. And of course, shout out to Patrick. I've been working closely with him. And super excited about the next election. It's always my favorite time of the quarter. It's coming up. And so hope to see everyone there. The other thing I wanted to share is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT 4 I purchased recently, and I've been playing around with it. And I think that it has a lot of applications for the marketing side of things. And so I'm sharing a tweet that I posted today. So basically what I did was I watched this Bankless podcast with Chris Berniski. Not quite sure how to pronounce his name. And I thought it was I was very impressed by Chris. I've never seen him before. He seemed like a really great thinker, and not biased by the groupthink. And he made a case for Solana, and the logic that he used to get through all of the negativity about Solana that happened after FTX. Reminded me of the mindset you need to get through the negativity to find the good stuff on EOS. And so I took the transcript. It was a 2-hour video, and ChatGPT 4, they actually promote themselves as a 26,000 word limit. Maybe that's not true, because it's definitely not true when you use it. I found that I had to break up the transcript into 10-minute sections, and I had it write a tweet thread, and I thought it turned out really well. I had to fix some things because I watched the interview myself, and it got most of the key points. I added a couple key points, and basically what I wanted to do was, because I feel like not a lot of people are doing this, and I think this is a really great application just for like long-form content in general, summarizing it with ChatGPT. So I wanted to summarize it and then kind of do a little EOS thing at the end, like using the same logic, all of the heuristics that he talked about in the interview. And so I think that for just EOS marketing in general, we should do more of this. And I think that it's like a first mover advantage right now. Eventually, it'll be trivial to do this, but there's a window right now where I think it's super valuable to be one of the first, people or communities to do this and to make our content way more accessible. Like even like these fireside chats, they should all be run through this method and tweeted out in a thread so people can easily digest all of the content that's going on. So yeah, give it a read. Love to hear your guys' thoughts and just EOS marketing stuff and yeah, that's it.
These AIs are getting scary good. Scary good.
I'll jump in. I have no real feedback on the marketing thing. This is Zack, by the way. The Zack with an H, not a K. I have no real feedback on the marketing thing. I mean, I think you're right. I think we should be using ChatGPT to write things. I think it's great at. I mean, it's a better writer than most university students. That's one thing a professor said on a podcast I was listening to. Just like from a technical standpoint, the limits that it has are actually based on tokens. If you're interested. So when you put in English words or whatever language, it takes those words and it breaks them down into tokens. And so you can think of tokens as like ideas. On average, 4 words will equal about 1 token. So ChatGPT 3.5 could handle 4,000 tokens. I don't know what ChatGPT 4 can handle. I also pay for it and use it, but I've never tricked it into telling me how it works. I should do that. But that may vary quite a bit. So depending on what kind of text you're putting into it, the limit's based on like tokens or like concepts rather than specific words. Just as a point of interest. Also, whoever in the chat saying there's something better, like please share.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to see the video with Jesse Jaffe, the last one that I put into this chat. We were speaking about social sentiment on Twitter. We were speaking about Lunar Crush, how it is working, Lunar Crush. We were speaking about the mini swarms, the new type of swarm with 10 comments, 15 comments, better to have than 300 comments. You have 300 bees retweeting, but you have maybe only 10 or 15 commenting. That's a great add-on. And the bees are very essential into our marketing around EOS, around the project that we are doing. That should be everyone using this service when you want to have traction on your project and not wait until that you have all developed to see if you have traction. So that's a fantastic service. And I encourage everyone to see what does it mean. You have the video, you can go on the other video. That was the 5th update with Jesse, with all my guests. When I begin with a guest, I continue. That's like a story, a long story. So Antelope workshop number 19, that was. And the next one is planned for May 23rd. I do that every 2 months. Whatever happens, if I am sick, if I am not in good shape, I motivate myself. I do that every 2 months. I am not paid for that, and I will be never paid for that. I will do never a Pomelo grant for that, because that's my passion. That's what I love. The only Pomelo grant that I have, it's MindWeb, and I am very grateful. I want to be here into this ecosystem the long most possible, and Antelope Workshop is becoming the longest podcast on EOS, like those Everything EOS by Zack. Antelope Workshop is becoming something very accountable season after season. So watch this video because that's very educative. My English is poor, but my guests are very thoughtful. They are speaking very well English, and that's video very well time-stamped. And there is education, a lot of education there. So see this video. They are all beautiful guests on this one. You have Vlad, You have Jesse, you have Martin Breuer with the Pomelo Astronaut. That was fantastic. I was buying my Pomelo Astronaut in live during the workshop. And there was Denis Carrière doing an update of the smart contract behind. That was just incredible. And I have also a fantastic update with Dancing Joy for Eden Fractal, doing a fantastic job. You have amazing people into this ecosystem. Shout out to everyone. And go EOS!
Shout out to Patrick too, and go EOS.
Yeah, baby.
Dancing Joy. Speaking of, thanks for the great interview, Patrick, and thanks everybody for the great conversation so far. Awesome to hear all the progress in EOS. And yeah, well, I was very inspired to share a few things as well. If that's cool right now, then I'll go into it. So, all right, great to hear, Stephane. Good to hear from you. Yeah, so a couple things. One, I think what Jesse was talking about, GPT-4, sounded super exciting and inspiring. So I'm going to look into that. And yes, there's so much going on with AI right now. So I'm going to listen to that again. I've been playing around with some tools, but the idea of Twitter threads seems great. And then I was here before, then I had to go for a little while, so I missed some of the Eden segments. So I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say about Eden as always. But I did hear what Rhett was saying about Eden and how he's talking with, I think, companies that are really excited about the potential for video creation and community building with Eden. So I'm super excited about that as well. And I appreciate you bringing that up, Rhett. And I think that's one of the amazing potentials that Eden has. And I wanted to share. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what we're doing with Eden Fractal and some of the vision there, but I'll share a bit. First off, with Eden Fractal, we've been meeting for the past 43 weeks, and we're playing consensus games. That's why I'm thinking about it, which is, I think, a great way to look at what we're doing with both the Eden elections, as Stephane talked about in the election podcast or the election fireside chat that we did during last election. He kept comparing it to a game, and I think that's a great analogy for many ways and a great way to market and share it as well. And so playing consensus games, we play a couple consensus games each week doing the Eden elections, but then also doing the Fractally process at the same time. And then we also have a game called Cagendas, where we're proposing topics and proposing proposals for the community to make decisions after the breakout rooms. And I'm very focused on it as a video creation and a community building tool. So we've had probably like 15 people on average coming for the past 43 weeks or so now, and there's been over 70 people participating, and we have really great experiences. We had a lot of laughs today, and also talked a lot of productive talk about building with better tools to cooperate better. You can watch all the videos and show notes. Watch the videos and then also read show notes. I write kind of like a sort of a weekly report with a bunch of stories and timestamps and so forth at edenfractal.com/videos. And the whole show notes idea is like quite inspired by podcasts and quite inspired by video creation. I've also been thinking about an idea called DAMs, or Decentralized Autonomous Media Studios, for a long time. I have an article about it at edencreators.com/DAMs, and I can share links to this. It's DAMS. But yeah, I've been really advocating for how Eden and consensus games like bring communities together and make awesome videos together. We have like each video is 2 hours long, 3 hours long. So we have like hundreds of hours of video content. It's kind of like we're making a huge movie together. And we were talking today about cutting and making into short clips and then promoting it with the bees. Shout out to the bees too. So yeah, it's going really exciting. I'm excited to talk about this more. So feel free to reach out, Rhett, or if anybody else is interested in talking about these consensus games. The tools that we're building are all open source. They're compatible with Antelope blockchains. Siddharth is also building Firmament, which is amazing. He's building with EVM, and it can also use the Eden OS software built by Denis and the Side-based software built by the Fractally team. And there's several communities who are cooperating with this now. There's Aquedac with Douglas and the Aquarius Academy, Art Fractal from Eric, Spanish speaking Fractal with Algoray, many others. So we're working on welcome guides and documentation. Is somebody speaking? Hello? I'm sorry, is somebody speaking right now? I can't hear you.
No, it was just a unmuted mic.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to wrap it up. I didn't mean to speak for too long. I got excited, but I was going to say, I'll show you the links to the edenfractal.com/videos and edencreators.com/dams, where you can see all the videos and show notes, and then also kind of a vision about or an in-progress article about how we can make videos together with these processes. And then also I have welcome guides and a bunch of tool documentation that I can share if anybody's interested. It's mostly ready, but they're still in drafts. And then I can share a bunch of links. Working on raising funding and creating apps with new interfaces for branding, like specifically for different communities like musicians and gamers and live streamers and YouTubers and scientists and so forth. But basically over the past like 12 weeks or so, since we've gotten better tools, it's much smoother. So now new people are joining and having a pretty easy time learning all the tools and being really impressed. So I think it's pretty close to being ready for like mainstream to empower many, many more communities with these processes. Thanks, Stephane, for the opportunity to share this. Thanks everybody for listening. And this is Dan Singjoy, by the way. If you want to get in contact with me, I'll share the links there. And yeah, looking forward to helping communities with consensus games and have great times. Thanks, Rhett, for also bringing it up. And yeah, great to see all the great progress. Excited for the EVM and go EOS.
All right, that was a lot of information. Thanks for sharing, Dan.
Joy, the best dog in the galaxy.
Thank you. Although there was a dog from Lisa on the Eden Fractal, which was also a best dog in the galaxy as well. He looked really cool.
Yeah, I confirm you are the best dog.
Thanks,
I
Patrick.
think we're gonna wrap it up there, guys. Thank you for joining. Still 62 of you guys in here with us. Over 2 hours of fireside action today. It's been great. Thanks for joining, everyone. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good week. We'll be back next week, of course. And until then, let's keep things spicy and let's go EOS!
Go EOS! Shout out to Stephane!
EOS!
Amazing job, Stephane. Amazing job. Week after week, you are the man.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
And shout out for the poker. Oh yeah, baby, yeah, exactly. Go EOS, we love EOS because we are here since the beginning. We love EOS. Oh, go EOS. Go